G'day, welcome to the Matt Fradd Show. This is a totally new set, as you may be realizing. How are you? Good to see you. We were at a production studio north of Atlanta, but we weren't terribly happy with some of the quality, and it was also a lot more expensive, and so we're doing it right here in my dining room right now. So I'm pretty excited about it. I hope you are too. I think that these mics are going to help people a lot more because before we had the lapel mics and people were complaining that the audio wasn't always super reliable. So we're doing this. Anyway, hi. I'm Matt Fradd, if I didn't tell you. Today I'm going to be interviewing my friend, Fr Ryan Mann, about what it's like being a priest today. We're going to talk about the spiritual life and a whole lot of things in between. I've actually had him on my podcast, Pints with Aquinas, a bunch in the past. People always love it when he's on the show. I know you are going to love this discussion. Hey, before you do anything else, click that subscribe button down there. Yes, you see it. Click it. And then click the bell right next to it. That way, YouTube will have to tell you every time we put out one of these shows. Thank you for watching, by the way. Really glad that you're here. I want to say thank you to two of our sponsors. The first I want to thank is Covenant Eyes. Covenant Eyes is simply the best filtering and accountability software on the web. I have Covenant Eyes on all of my devices, on my laptop, on my phone. My wife has it on her phone and her laptop because it's really important to us that we create a safe environment where we and our children are not going to be exposed to pornography. It's the best filter on the web. It even has image recognition software. That is to say, if you go to a website that doesn't have any foul language, it can still detect whether you're looking at pornography or not, and it'll tell your accountability partner. That's why it's so cool. It doesn't just block the bad stuff, tells your accountability where you've gone, what you've typed into Google, how long you were on this problematic website for. And the awesome thing about it is you now have a friend who can come to you and invite you to be a better human being. So if you've been struggling with pornography and you want to be free, stop whining about it and do something about it. Go to covenanteyes.com right now. Download it on all your devices. Here's what's cool. If you use the promo code, one word, Matt Fradd, you'll get a month for free. You can try it for 30 days on all your devices. If you don't want it, quit it. On day 30, you won't be charged a cent. But I promise you, you're not going to. You're not going to quit it. We love it so much, and you will too. If you have children, I think Covenant Eyes is a necessity. You want to protect your kids from this stuff. I speak to about 50,000 people a year. A lot of those are teenagers. I see the carnage when parents give their children phones and computers, and it's exhausting. And so if you're a parent, do the bloody responsible thing. Get Covenant Eyes today, covenanteyes.com. Use the promo code MattFradd, and you'll get a month for free. The second group I want to say thank you to is Hallow. Hallow is a fantastic app that will help you pray. You know how you have those apps out there like Calm and Headspace and the like? These are pretty cool apps. You know, they help you meditate, they help you pray. The problem with them, of course, is that they lead into New Age practices, New Age ways of thinking, and as Catholics, that's incompatible in some instances with our faith. What's great about Hallow is it's just as professional and as awesome. It's always really refreshing, I think, when you find a Catholic app that's just as incredible as a secular app, okay? But it's 100% Catholic, and it'll really help you pray. Sometimes I listen to this laying in bed at night. I'll do an examination of conscience. You can play Gregorian chant or synth music behind the person who leads you in the meditation. My wife uses it. We sometimes use it even in adoration with earbuds. I'm not sure if that's cool or not, but I do it, so shut up. Hallow offers a permanently free version of their app, which includes content that is updated every single day, as well as a paid subscription option with premium content. But by using the promo code MattFradd, one word, you can try out all the sessions in the app for a full month totally for free. How do you take advantage of that, I hear you ask? By going to hallow.app/MattFradd. That's HALLOW, hallow.app, app/MattFradd. Create your account online before downloading the app. Again, use that promo code. You can try out all the content for free. It really is a fantastic way to grow in your prayer life. If you haven't downloaded it yet, go check it out. hallow.app/MattFradd. All right, here is my chat with Fr Ryan Mann. Fr Ryan Mann!
What's up, Matt Fradd?
I am well. Yeah, doing well.
It's great.
What's up? Is that an American phrase? I don't know.
What, you tell me? I'm American. I used it.
We do say it. We say, "How you going?"
Hey, you going?
How you going? Like Americans say, hey, they say, "How you doing?" You know, Joey from Friends.
Friends, yeah.
How you doing? We don't say, "How you doing?"
Where does your American references begin?
What?
Like, so you weren't always American. So, like, When did they begin where you started knowing cultural references?
Well, we've watched American television ever since I can
Is there
remember.
Australian TV?
Yeah.
Are there soap operas in Australia?
The Australian television is to American television what Catholic YouTube shows are to sophisticated and worth watching shows. I shouldn't have crapped on my show from the beginning, but yeah, Australian television's not great.
Okay.
Some of it's getting better.
Do you have a Hollywood? Like, what's your version of Hollywood? What's it
No,
called?
we don't really have that. No.
Okay. Well, this has been fun.
What was the question? When did American references begin? Yeah, so it kind of is. Yeah, we grow up watching American
Like, if I say
television.
like Rocky and Rambo,
Yeah, I know what that is.
what about like Darkwing Duck?
Don't know what that means.
Oh, that's a cartoon program when I was in like 5th grade, really big.
Ooh. But
Tailspin?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, wow, really?
Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
All that. I mean, that's weird, right? I don't think Americans see that as weird because I think Americans, they don't mean to do this, but they really do see themselves as the center of the world or just the world. Like the World Series is two bloody Americans, baseball teams playing.
Yeah.
The World Series.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, there's a comedian who says that, like, America, they just go everywhere saying they're number one. He's like, no one would want a friend like that. Like, going over your house, I'm the best.
Yeah,
I'm the best friend. I'm the greatest friend every room you go to.
Yeah.
Like, Americans do that everywhere. And then we wonder why people wouldn't like us.
Well, and I actually love Americans, but it is weird. The Americans don't think that it's weird that I grew up watching American television. Like, how weird would it be if you grew up and all you watched was Australian television? That's what everybody watched.
Yeah, that's weird.
That would be weird.
Yeah, that's really weird. Yeah.
But America is fascinating because you have done so much. We were talking about this earlier in the car.
Yeah, what do we name all the things we invented?
Well, jazz.
Yeah, we listen to jazz music.
How do you just invent an entire genre of music that's worth
And not
worth
even that
listening
long
to?
ago.
Although rap, where did rap come from? That probably came from America as well.
Yeah.
So
Although
you undid the
France,
goodness you did through
jazz kind of came from France though a little bit too.
Oh yeah, I guess because it kind of originated in New Orleans.
But
right?
the argument is France and New Orleans. What kind of happened because Dixieland kind of came out of there a little bit more. Dixieland is a kind of jazz. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right,
But
so
it's,
there's that. I mean, basketball's from Canada. That was invented in Canada.
is that true?
True story. Look it up. You're welcome.
I feel like that's...
Pamela Anderson was made in Canada. Jim Carrey.
Why are we talking about Canada? You're not even
I don't
Canadian.
know. But like, the automobile is an American invention.
You're welcome.
The aeroplane is.
Do you know what a cool quote about the guy who invented the Ford?
No.
He said, "If I asked everyone what they thought, they would have said a faster horse."
Yeah.
Now I don't know if that's a true quote, but it's an awesome
I hope
sentiment.
it is. My point is, America is awesome. The dishwasher was invented by some Italian broad in Chicago.
I don't think.
No one says broad. Are you
No
not
one
allowed to
says-
say broad?
No, I just don't think no one says it anymore.
But anyway, it's pretty cool.
So
it's
okay,
amazing how
you love America,
All right, go. Yeah.
but are you American yet?
No, I'm Australian with a green card, which means I have a permanent residency, but I cannot vote.
And is
Who did you vote for? I'm just
Well,
joking.
that's awkward. But
I should
did
do
you-
that. I should begin every episode by asking people who they vote for.
they would just start
for.
taking these off and leaving?
yeah.
Is the green card green?
Yep.
Okay. Will you ever become a citizen? Is there advantages that you don't currently have?
Exactly. This is why I haven't made the switch to the Byzantine church. There's no real advantages. There is advantages to being a citizen, but you know, like I attend a Byzantine church. I've been going there for 4 years.
What's it called?
My church? Or
Yeah.
Epiphany of our Lord in Roswell.
Of our Lord. That's good.
Yeah.
Be weird if it's Epiphany. That's great.
Something else.
Yeah.
Father Ryan Mann, who are you and where do you come from and why are you here?
Yeah. All right. I'm a priest of the Diocese of Cleveland, Ohio. I've been a priest for 6 years, and I'm a parochial vicar at St. John Newman in Strongsville.
What does parochial vicar mean?
It's the Catholic version of saying like associate pastor in the Protestant world. You help the pastor.
Okay, that's what a parochial vicar means?
Parochial vicar means you aren't the pastor of that parish, but you're helping the pastor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Parochial vicar sounds more important than pastor.
That's just why we do it.
And he
We're
is.
not dumb.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. But that's... So that's right.
How long have you been a priest?
6 years.
Do you enjoy being a priest?
I do. In fact, I was just on the plane down here. I was reading a book, and it said it was a priest retreat that was given, and the guy asked the priest, if someone asked you to be ordained again, knowing everything you know, would you say yes? And I paused, and I said, I actually would. Yeah, I really do. I like being a priest.
That's really cool. Yeah. I sometimes joke that if I could do it all over again, I'd be a Dominican or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard me joke about that, have you?
Do you think you would be a good Dominican?
No, I'd be a terrible Dominican.
Okay.
But I actually think that I swear to God I mean this. I would want to find my wife sooner so I could marry her. Like, she's the greatest.
So if you could do it over again, you'd want to bump it up earlier, but you couldn't.
I would just, yeah, I couldn't do it. I joke about it. And sometimes there's a temptation, to think, gosh, married life is hard and kids is hard and gosh, it would be easier if something else. You must think that sometimes, do you?
There's a priest in our diocese who says the grass is brown on both sides.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, I do a lot of marriage ministry, as you know. And I think in many ways marriage is harder.
It totally is harder.
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
I'll be honest. It's brown on both sides, but like yours has got like a lot more brown.
I mean, we have to worry about our kids and going to college and dentist appointments.
The big thing is that I just think, so put it this, here's a great story. Friends of mine get married, and anytime a couple that I know gets married, good friends of mine, I wait about 3 months and then I call them.
Yep.
And I ask the same question. Like, what is the biggest surprise of being married that you didn't expect? And this one couple, she's like, that he's just always around. And he's like, she's always around. And I think about that like a lot. Like, I know that like when I'm getting burnt out or I'm tired, like I just need to shut my door, give me a book, or I just need to veg out in front of the TV for a little bit, or I just need me time, right? But if I had wife and kids, I couldn't always have a me time when I needed a me time because like kids are dependent on me, and my wife has legitimate rights to ask things of me because we said we'd have a shared life together. That's really hard.
I mean, you can be a priest and a husband and be a selfish mongrel, right? I mean,
absolutely. You can live as a bachelor still, right?
Right. But do you think that in some ways it can be easier to be selfish as a priest?
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're selfish as a priest, if you're selfish as a husband, like your whole marriage and family will fall apart.
And if you have a good wife, she'll call you on it. You'll only be selfish for about 6 months, and then she's like, we're going to talk.
Whereas if you're selfish as a priest, the parishioners might not like you. They might make excuses for you. You might just lie about being busy, and they're none the wiser.
Well, yeah, that's a big thing too, I think, is that as a priest, you can say things like, I have a lot going on, and they're like, oh yeah, no, Father's very busy.
Yeah.
And you can hide.
And I say that to my wife. She's like, exactly what? Because I'm teaching your kids Latin. Right.
Yeah, so like, I mean, the accountability is tough. Now, I think like 50 years ago, you had more priests living together in a house. There might have been more accountability. I don't know. I wasn't alive then, but now there's just two priests.
Is that a good thing? Would you like to see that brought back? Would you like it if a bishop in your diocese is like, okay, from now on, priests 4 or 5 to a house?
Well, I always say yes, but then
and then I meet the priests in
my
diocese.
Then I start thinking, I'm like, well, maybe not that guy though. But then I'm like, I know guys who I know I can give you names of priests in my diocese and say, well, I don't want to live with Ryan though. So it's like, but I also think like, isn't that like the whole point?
But it's like that with my children. I mean,
you don't want to live with your children?
No, but there are certain times where you think the family dynamic would be smoother if this person, at least for the moment, would go away. And
right. Well,
you don't get to choose the temperaments of your children.
Right, but I think that's kind of as annoying as that would be. That's the whole point.
But you have authority over them, which is different with you.
Like that's the whole point. Is like I'm living with someone I don't naturally like, so I can supernaturally love them. Like the whole point of community life is that it forces you to love someone you don't naturally have an affection for. So you grow in holiness. It's actually like a great school of holiness.
Yeah, so back to the question, would you be up for it?
Well, yes, I would actually.
Yeah.
No matter
you would
what,
see the good in it, even though it would be like really difficult.
I also get along with a lot of people pretty easily. There's something about the idea of like, hey, you want to watch a ball game tonight? Or just having a cup of coffee. Hey, how you doing? Good.
Nice.
There's something rather than living alone or after a long, stressful, emotional day, just being by yourself. I like the idea of sharing like community life with people.
What's your suggestion to parishioners who want to kind of reach out to their priest because, they don't want him to feel alone. They want to feel loved. But at the same time, they think to themselves, maybe there's been a million parishioners asking them to come and bless my house and he might be exhausted. And what do they do? I
think you ask, but don't ask in a sense of really letting him to be free. When you ask and you really don't let someone be free. You're like, would you like to bless my house? Because my kid really has been looking to see you come over. He would love to show you his room.
Really great. Like today or tomorrow.
Yeah,
you could come.
Yeah, exactly. But just
maybe Wednesday, but that's it.
Father, if you're open to it sometime, we'd love to have you over, bless the house, have dinner for you. But no pressure. If you'd like to come, great. If not, we totally
And you probably
understand.
get the sense if someone's being serious.
Yeah, you get a good sense of like...
People wouldn't say that if they didn't mean it, probably.
Right. No, they always mean it, but sometimes they mean it too much. Like they really want the priest over. You're like, we really want you. You're like, I don't. So it can be tough.
Lovely couple.
Because you want to bless them, you want to be good to them, you want to be. You're their spiritual father. You want to be present, but you also don't want to put yourself in a situation that's unhealthy for you. I'm still a person. I need to be in a healthy situation. So it's tough.
I got to tell you about an unhealthy potentially unhealthy situation that materialized in front of me recently that ended up being an amazing story. Haven't told you this yet. Totally side note. Has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but That's okay. That's what conversations do. So I was at a Steubenville conference with many young teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say where to protect this person's identity, so I want to be very clear about that. But it was during a night of adoration. It was a young woman. She came up to me and she was visibly upset and crying. Now, given the climate in the church, if I see a woman approaching me in need of comfort, my first response is run away, find another female. You know what I mean? And that's fine. I don't know if there's something wrong with this woman. I don't know if she's mentally unwell or anything. So she comes up to me and she can barely speak, right? And I'm very standoffish, right? Because I'm like, no one's going to be accusing the porn guy of anything, right?
That's good.
Because imagine if that happened.
Prudence.
Imagine if that happened.
Done.
If tomorrow a claim was made against me of having done something sexually inappropriate, and I have not done anything inappropriate, to be clear, but that there would be a good number of people who would be like, you know what, I just thought it was weird that he always talked about like pornography. Like that seems unhealthy. And that would be a legitimate complaint.
Yeah, you reread the narrative. Yep.
And I'd be screwed. Anyway, this woman comes up. She's visibly distraught. And I say, are you okay? And she can't speak. She can barely get a word out. I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, and she starts saying, I've done some really bad things. I'm like, okay, well, you don't have to tell me. But if you want to, I'll reverence whatever you'll say, and I'll, what. So she's trying to speak, and she's shaking. And she eventually says, I looked at porn a bunch as a girl and as a teen, and I've come to these things for 4 years, and I've never confessed it, and I've never admitted this to anybody. And the words rushed out of her like water off of a roof. Mm. And I gave her the most affectionate side hug one can give.
Smart.
I just said, oh, my sister, I love you, and you're good, and you're beautiful, and you're not a freak, and you're lovely. And get to confession. And she went to confession that night. And I said, and come and tell me after you've done it. She came and she was grinning from ear to ear. It was just so beautiful. Mm. What a lovely thing you get to do as a priest, to hear someone's confession.
My favorite part about being a priest.
And really, in some cases, all you have to do is just be merciful and understanding, and of course, tell them what to do and what not to do, give them direction. But lovely.
Yeah, it's my favorite part.
And you're almost the unsung hero, because especially at these conferences, they don't really know who you are, but you've just, that priest changed this woman's life.
Oh, yeah. Now, I want to ask you something, because some people don't get to see this side of you because they see the interview side, right? Mm. But we got to meet when I brought you into a high school in Cleveland, Holy Name High School.
You said something to me after that talk that I'll never forget, that blessed me tremendously, which I will tell you after you tell your anecdote. Go.
Okay. You talked to the whole school, your hour-long talk on porn, which, by the way, just to let everyone know who says that high schoolers can't pay attention for an hour, no PowerPoints, no music, nothing. Mm-hmm. No props. You just gave a talk.
No sock puppets?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing. Like you gave stats, you gave talk, and they didn't move a muscle. Totally riveted. When you're done, someone came talk to you, and before we left, you said, can we go into the chapel? And you ran to the chapel, and you laid down flat in front of the Blessed Sacrament after a conversation you just had with someone. And you were down for about a couple minutes, then you came back and we said, okay, moved on. When you laid down flat, what were you hoping to happen when you were praying in that moment? Do you remember?
Gosh, I don't remember that at all, but I usually do this.
Okay, what do you do? What do you hope?
And lest people are thinking high thoughts of me right now, because that's a very flattering thing for you to point out, I'd like to say that it's due to the witness and friendship of Jason Everett that I've learnt to do this. Mm-hmm. So Jason, when he travels, he'll always spend an hour before the Blessed Sacrament every day. And then after each talk, go to the Blessed Sacrament. And so this is something I learned from him. Mm-hmm. So that's why I do it. And so whenever I go before the Blessed Sacrament, after I speak, I do a couple of things. I lay down and I just give all the pain that was just thrown upon me through speaking to a child. Yeah.
That was it. That was what I wanted to say, because
Why?
There was someone who came up to you, and I could tell it was a powerful conversation. I stepped away.
Yeah, I don't remember this at all.
And then you said, and I remember you got up and you just said, there's just a lot of pain in the world. And then we went out and we had lunch or something like that, took you to the airport. But
it's just given the pain. Like, I can't deal with this, so you'll have to. Please.
So this is the only reason I wanted this part to start conversation here was just, a lot of people don't get to see, they get to know you as the porn guy, a bunch of stats and things like this. They get to know you as Pints with Aquinas, Matt Fradd Show. You're interviewing, you're having fun, you're having a conversation with people you want to talk to. But like the animating principle or the gasoline of all that is right there.
I pray to God it is.
Is Matt just being like, I can't handle this, Lord. I need you to take it. And so that's what's always kept me talking to you and come back to you is that I've seen you do that. I know you've done that. And so I'm like, I know this guy prays.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So what did I say to you?
Oh, well, you said, and this won't mean anything to anyone else listening, but to me it meant the world. You said something like, you're more than just a fad. You said something like that. Like that. In other words, you don't just have this little shtick going, right? Yeah. And that really meant a lot to me. You know that you said something to me like you have something of substantive, and something to the effect I can tell that this is something that you're being called to do, and you do it well. And I was just like, wow, that was a real blessing.
Well, I mean, ask anyone if I took a room of 1,000 high schoolers and put them in a gymnasium, and no PowerPoints, no videos, no music, nothing like that, and just talking about scientific studies and stats, and end with a personal witness. It's going to be an hour long straight.
I can do about 2 things well. Interviewing isn't one of them, incidentally.
Well, you create the show,
But speaking about porn to young people, I can crush.
And you did well.
I just love them. I just love young people.
It's needed.
I love it. I don't love them when they're up in my business, but if they're over there and I'm on a stage, love them. And I just pray that I can see them as the Father sees them. But incidentally, what I try to do before a talk is I'll pray a novena of memorares followed by a final memorare. This is something that Mother Teresa suggested. If she needed help right away, she would pray 9 memorares in a row. So not 9 days, but like 9 memorares, like do this, Blessed Mother. And then finally a memorare in thanksgiving for the prayers Mary will answer. Love it. And then at the end of my talk, I say something to the effect of like, Lord, take my bull crap and use it as manure for their growth. So all the things I said wrong, I shouldn't have said that, that was kind of a little blunt, or I don't know enough, or I'm not eloquent enough. Would you, like a good chef, take all of the ingredients and make something beautiful? Because an Australian dude speaking in a gym can't do it, so you do it.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
There's a group of women in our diocese who does post-abortion healing, and whenever they give presentations, they say something similar. They're women, so it's a little more poetic, I think. But it's they say something like, "Whatever mountains our pride caused, bring low. Whatever valleys were emptied, fill up. Whatever rivers were crooked, make straight." Something like this. And they just make this. So the idea that like, Lord, we're giving it all to you to make this work for them.
Yeah, Lord, take my bull crap and use it as manure for their growth.
Yeah, I think the women meant to say that, but they just were kind of.
No, theirs is much better. That's beautiful. As a priest, what is the best thing you enjoy doing? I don't mean what's the thing you think you should say is the most, like celebrating the Holy Mass. Yes. Maybe that is.
I'll tell you. So that's what I feel like I should say, right?
Good, yeah.
But the truth is confession or spiritual healing. And by spiritual healing, I mean a combination of like spiritual direction / working with someone through a particular wound in their life, whether that came from their childhood or something like that. So that combination is my favorite.
You go. Sorry.
When someone is vulnerable
Yep.
and has the courage to bring what's going on deep inside out.
Oh, man.
I am just
the
like...
The respect you must have.
The respect, but it's more so the tenderness. There's a part of my heart that gets awakened that, I love the way I feel towards them. I just feel very much like reverence and also tenderness. And I just feel the Lord flowing, and I say things that I know I would have never said on my own, And it's been so confession or the spiritual healing type of stuff. I've enjoyed that the most.
Do you remember your first confession
that I made?
Yeah, no, that you
I received.
That you, what do you say? That you ministered? That
how much
after you were a priest?
I don't.
Or do you remember one of the? Because I imagine, like, if I became a priest, that would be a pretty big deal. Like, oh my gosh, I guess I got to go into this.
I remember no one asked me right away, and I was kind of sad. Because I was really hoping someone would. It was like the first weekend. And you're
anybody?
I'm like,
no.
Hey, I can do this now. Like, hello. And like, I remember it being I don't remember how long, but
abilities.
Like no one was for a while. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess then we're just going to wait on that power. And then I was able to.
Yeah, that's really cool.
The great thing about confession, I always think about John Paul II's line. Like, if I could design a church, I'd want this on the outside of the confessionals, which is that be reconciled to your greatness. I think a lot of people think that like somehow confession is like God was going to beat you. And now you went to confession, so he puts down the bat, but he's waiting until next time. So there's like no sense of like you transforming because of this sacrament. It's just like, okay, God won't beat me now. And so the idea that like there's a powerful thing where what's dusted off from you are the lies, And the original plan, the reason God created you is starting to grow more and more. It's a sacrament of healing. And so a healing takes place. So that's really, it's as Pope Benedict says, it's performative, not just informative. So you're not just thinking now nicer thoughts about you. Something actually happened to you in that time. It's an encounter with Jesus. So I love that.
You know, Revelation 12:10 calls Satan the accuser of our brethren.
Wow.
And then the Holy Spirit is called, what's he called?
Advocate.
Advocate. There's another word as well that I believe meant defense attorney. I forget, the name's escaping me now.
Is it the consoler? No.
No.
But yeah.
Anyway, I love that idea that Satan heaps lies upon us. And there's that line, Satan knows our name and calls us by our sin. The Father knows our sin and calls us by our name.
Oh, that's nice.
Ooh, that's
Never heard that.
Good one, isn't it?
I like that a lot.
Tweet that right now, everybody.
Yeah.
Now, go.
Good.
Yeah, go.
Nice.
So,
Here we are.
drinking knockoff LaCroix.
Is that what this is?
This is a type of coffee.
Yeah, it animates us.
Do you like being a diocesan priest? Do you ever wish you were a Franciscan? Or
So I tried to be a Capuchin Franciscan at one point.
did you?
Yeah.
Do you know I stayed with them for a big chunk of time?
Where?
Melbourne.
Okay.
Yeah, in Australia.
So yeah, they were at our minor seminary, which is the college. The Capuchin Franciscans study with the diocesan seminarians all in the same building, right? And I just really, at that time, there was a priest there who I just thought he was like amazing, right? This old Capuchin. I wanted to be a Capuchin, but really I just wanted to be him.
Yeah.
Right. So, and he saw that because I went to him. I'm like, I want to be a Capuchin. He's like, you'll be diocesan. And I'm like, well, you don't like get to decide, right? Like he's like, you're just, no, it's not going to happen. And then I looked into it and I was like, okay, I think he's got onto something. He knows Mike pretty well. But I love the Diocese of Cleveland. I love my home, and I just love the people, and I love my brother priests. Like, we just have a great presbyterate in Cleveland. And it's not just me saying that, although I am saying that. I've gone to other places, and priests there say, you have an amazing presbyterate in Cleveland.
So what's different?
You know, I think we have our own seminary, so all the guys have studied there. So that's part of it. So you know guys 8 years ahead of you and 8 years behind you. So it's like almost 20 years of guys you know studying. So there's a familiarity. And I think because you study in the place you came from and you go back to that same place and it's only like 40 minutes away, our seminary, you don't ever leave your story too far behind. So you can't like leave and be like, I now got holy and I'm back to serve all of you. Yeah. There's none of that. They're like, I remember you.
Oh, yeah.
I was at some pro-life conference.
Ryan.
I was at some pro-life conference and this guy's like, is that you, Ryan? And I looked around. He's like, you dated my daughter. And I was like, and I was a priest hearing confessions. And I was like, well, there's just no running away from your story. Like, it's true. I dated his daughter, you know, and
hopefully you were good.
So yeah, I was
good.
I was. And, but it's one of those, so I think that's part of it. But I think for me as a young priest, I'm only ordained 6 years, the older priests in our diocese are so welcoming to the younger guys' gifts. Like they want us not just to like be happy, but they want us to like thrive and be amazing. And so I told some of the older priests I was coming here to do this show with you, and they're like, that's amazing. Let me know. I want to see it. I'll be praying for you. I'm just so happy for you. Like they were like dads and older brothers who just wanted me to be great. There was no competition or belittling. Oh, you're always in front of the camera. None of that.
Yeah.
It was just so, now some of them get like that. We all get like that at times, but
yeah,
it's just a really healthy presbyter. I'm really happy.
What's your thoughts on priests who develop a social media presence or have some sort of shtick of sorts?
Yeah, so I don't have Twitter. I don't have Facebook.
I'm not accusing you. I'm just saying.
Well, I'm just defending. I have the Holy Spirit. He's my advocate. Okay, I'm just saying.
Right.
But so I don't have any of that. So it's kind of a foreign world to me.
Yeah, you're not in it to see who might be.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. It's hard to justify doing something in addition to Bishop Robert Barron. I know it sounds weird, but he's just does so much, and it's like, what do we do? Have an original thought compared? I mean, it's like. So part of that's like, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's not like leave it up to Bishop Robert Barron.
No, but it's like, I don't know. Like what am I going to do? Like my own version of a watered down YouTube video with some weird theme song to it. And like all of a sudden get a bunch of books on a bookshelf behind me so it looks like I'm as smart as him. I mean, so I don't know. Like I mean, priests who do it, if they feel called by God to do it, great. I'm always wondering, is the amount of time you're putting into it, is it really having the impact on the body of Christ that you think it's having? And how do you know?
Yeah. What scares me, we're talking about priests, we're talking about lay people, when someone's like, hey, I want to get into ministry. I'm like, oh, why? Why would you do that? Don't do that.
Yeah, I just think, I don't know, like, well, you told me this one time, and I like this. If you don't want to help out at your own parish, first.
Yeah.
Don't try to be like the speaker or the Catholic person. There's something humble. Like there's that Cardinal Sarah, how you say that?
Sarah.
Yeah. He in his book on the silence, that silent book.
Sarah.
Yeah, that silence book.
Power of Silence.
Don't talk book. Power of Silence.
Yep.
The end of it, there's some interviews at the end with the Carthusian head guy. And they asked him, I said, what do you do for what would you say to someone who says you don't do anything for the wars in the Middle East or the poor in Africa? And he goes, well, when my brother's down the hallway and he's sick, I bring him soup and I sit with him. There was just, you couldn't tell his tone because it's a book, right? But you just had a sense where he's like, I take care of the people closest to me, literally my neighbor. I'm loving. And it's just it was powerful to me. And that's kind of, for me, that's kind of the worldview I have when it comes to be the social media guy, be this guy. And I'm like, listen, I try after morning mass, I try to look at people in the eyes and laugh with them and get to know their stories. I try to take care of people in front of me. And I don't know that the Lord wants me to do much more than that. And that's kind of the joy of being a diocesan priest. But I also know some priests who have some online ministries and they use their social media accounts to really evangelize even their parish better. So, they may even say, hey, I have this homily, I'm giving you 10 minutes, but I actually put a 20-minute YouTube video up on the parish thing. And they're able to work that way. I think that's nice. But I know there's some priests out there who have shticks, and sometimes I wonder if there's not some pain in their own heart, like an accusation that they're not loved unless I'm not good enough unless I'm X.
I don't mean to be too, what's the word, accusatory. I mean, the same thing could be said about me with my little shtick here, with my little videos and things like that. And but for some reason, it makes me feel a little less comfortable about a priest doing it. Maybe I'm wrong to feel that way. Don't know why that is. Haven't thought it through.
Yeah, I think it depends on. It's hard to speak abstractly, right? I think it depends on the priest, on the ministry, because some priests, I'm going to name a name. Father Michael Schmitz, I think he does great work.
He should never stop doing what he's doing.
He does great work for college students. And, he's just, I met him once, and he actually, he deeply loves the Lord in prayer.
He really does.
He really loves the spiritual life. I'm like, this guy's...
And he takes almost no speaking engagement, so he can be present.
Yeah, he's just, so I just think that guy's really just, but he's doing that because his bishop and his presbyterate wanted him to do that. As a priest, our ministries come from the bishop. My life was given to him and the Diocese of Cleveland. They get to tell me how to spend my life. That's where holiness comes from as well.
Is there a freedom in that? You like that?
There
you
can
don't
be.
Live anywhere else but Cleveland.
Yeah, no, but Cleveland's awesome.
I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah, come on.
But it's not an option. For me, I can get up and move to Australia if I wanted, bring our family there, or
Are we boring you? Or?
No, you're not boring me. I just.
You're on your phone now. The people are on that. Just listening to this audio-wise.
1 second, I'm just checking Facebook.
Matt has become a millennial. No offense, millennials. I'm just saying. He's just.
Wow, that was really.
That's half your Patreon groups too, or probably you just lost people.
No.
Tell your wife she can't have dinner. No, because you don't have money anymore.
Yep.
No, I don't think it's a. I don't think social media is the problem, right? I just think we have to figure out ways to use it. But as a priest,
I think social media.
My life's the diocese. That's it. That's what I was ordained for. So I'm here to help the Diocese of Cleveland any way I can. Coming down here, I asked the vicar of clergy, "Is this okay?" Because I really realized my priesthood and time and energy is meant to be for the Diocese of Cleveland. This is something extra. I wanted to make sure he was okay with it.
Thomas à Kempis, in his book Imitation of Christ.
Intense book.
So good.
Yeah, you're a worm. That's one of the lines.
Oh. Well, yeah.
It's an intense book. It's
not
an
intense book.
It's not like you're reading, I don't know, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I don't know what book I'm trying to think of, but
one of the things
purpose-driven life, it's intense,
Yeah, one of the things he says is there's always a temptation to look to someone else, right? So the parish priest says, well, if I were a religious, then I could do this. And the religious says, if I was a monk, I could do this. And the married man says this. And that's a big temptation for people, hey? I'm hearing that more and more.
I think Francis de Sales speaks to that so much better, though. Because he talked about holiness and grace comes through your state of life. And so he develops this further to say, it'd be weird for a married man to constantly be seeking a holy hour, all right, but neglecting bills. Because his grace, his holiness comes through paying bills, taking care of his responsibilities within his state of life.
Said that, eh?
Yeah, within his vocation. It's in the... Must have purpose-driven life. Yeah, Rick Warren would love that. Yeah, Introduction to Devout Life. And so, but he goes through a bunch of them, just these same examples. The parish priest it would be weird for me to be looking for monastic life or with a monastic wondering, I wonder how many bills I could pay. Well, the holiness and grace of Christ comes to perfect me within my vocation.
Yeah.
So same thing for you. It's particularly being attentive to your wife and children and all the temporal affairs that come to that as a married guy. That's part of your holiness. When you pay bills well and you're responsible, that's part of you being sanctified. I mean, that's a beautiful thing.
My wife pays all our bills, but yeah.
That's part of her being sanctified then.
Exactly, right?
But like you're traveling, I know sometimes it's fun. You get to be the star, but it's also exhausting. You're staying in hotel rooms, you're in airports. That's sacrifice. That's sanctifying. Right. You're providing for them.
Recently, a couple of weeks ago.
It's not sanctifying simply because it's church work either. Yeah. It's because this is the way you're providing for your wife and kids. It's very important to people hear that. It's not sanctifying because it's churchy. If you were a plumber, it'd be sanctifying. If you were a construction worker and you had to fly to New York for a month-long project and be away from your family, that sacrifice is sanctifying because you're doing it for your family. It's your vocation that makes you perfect.
That's really
Hopefully.
A good point. Yeah. You're good. About a week ago, my wife was sick in bed. 2 of the kids were being looked after somewhere. And I went to adoration. And it's like half hour to get there. Took a whole hour, came back. I just left my sick wife for 2 hours. And I got back and she was angry. I'm like, why would you possibly be angry? But that goes to what you're saying. Like what the Lord was almost certainly.
Yeah.
Cool, I'm not infallible, but here we go. Calling me to would be to like let her rest and be with the children. But it was like a selfish thing, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to be alone. But it looked holy.
See, this is a great, no, Matt.
Let's crack this open.
This is so good. It looked holy. Yeah, it did, but it wasn't.
It wasn't.
And it wasn't precisely because grace flows through your vocation. Now, there's times, of course, where married couples have to go separately and do adoration and church events and be renewed, retreats, this and that, because you need to be with the Lord. Your primary vocation is your baptismal vocation to be with God. But your other vocation, right, which flowers from that baptismal vocation for marriage is I have to consider all my actions as an action of communion. How will this bless my wife and children? And as you learn to be more and more selfless in your thoughts and choices, right, you become more and more like the Trinity, which is nothing but selfless love. And there's no me or I in the Trinity. It's only you. The Father says you for all of eternity to the Son. The Son says you for all of eternity to the Father. And that self-giving love is what we're baptized into and created in the image of. And so marriage is meant to order you in that direction. Self-giving. Priesthood is meant to order me towards the total gift to the church, right?
What's something in your priesthood that has really called that out of you that you maybe didn't expect? So for me, it would be, kids who always need me and don't let up. And I'm exhausted and I don't want to do this. Like, I think I knew abstractly that would be the case, but when it actually happens and you're angry at your children for waking up for the 3rd time tonight because you've got to get up early in the morning.
I'd say I have 2 things that come to mind. The first would be sick calls in the middle of the night. When I was in the seminary, I used to think about, oh man, superhero, you put the collar on, you get to go to the hospital when no one else is allowed in that room because you're going to anoint them. One of the ancient titles for priests is the gatekeeper of death. Yeah. You don't get to go until I anoint you. Go forth, Christian soul. And as a seminarian, I was like, it's going to be like a black and white movie. I'm going to be amazing. No joke. First time it happened to me, I was so tired. I answered the phone and hung up right away. I was like, what? No, good night. And I hung up because I was delirious.
Oh, yeah.
And then they called a second time. I was like, hello. And they're like, yeah, my mom's in the hospital. What hospital? I was so mean because I'm begrudgingly and resentful, slapping on my collar, getting in my car. Hail Mary, full of you, person better be me. And I was just like, and I got back home, went to bed. It wasn't until I woke up the next day that I realized I was so different than what I dreamt I'd be. Yes. So that was one of them.
That's a great.
The other one would be
great one.
I just recently switched to a new parish about 1.5 years ago.
Yeah. And
your first parish is what they call your first love. 90% of the time. Sometimes guys don't have a great experience the first assignment. I had a wonderful one. My second assignment now is really good. My second assignment now is really good. But they all know. I told them. I've been honest with them. Okay. But that first year was really hard. And they did nothing wrong. My new pastor did nothing wrong. They were good people, but they weren't my first assignment. And I hated it. And I was miserable and sad and lonely. And I didn't want to love them. I remember in my heart an honest prayer being like, well, Jesus, I don't care about them, so I don't care. Like, I don't want to preach. I don't care. I just didn't want, I just couldn't find it within me to love them because I was still attached to the first place. Not in a negative way, just learning to let go. But this was my call. I knew God works through the bishop, and the bishop assigned me here. So I had to say yes. And sometimes giving that yes is like a bitter, biting your bottom lip. Yes, fine, whatever.
Yeah. I love the honesty. Have you shared this with other priests and they're like, preach?
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. Like, and we've talked about that. Now, some guys had a terrible first assignment, so their second assignment, they're like, woohoo, finally. Yeah. But it was tough for me. But do you know what? I think I came up with every excuse in the book why this parish was bad and wrong, why my new pastor wasn't good. What, a year and a half later now, I'm like, these are sweet people, and my pastor's the funniest guy I've ever lived with, and we watch TV together, and we go out to eat, and I'm like, I'm enjoying it. But it's taken me a long time for my heart to get there.
Sometimes I think if I was just serious about the things the Lord was calling me to do, my life would be much simpler than it is. It's sort of similar. Like, ideally, this is in the abstract, the bishop tells you where to go, just go there and be faithful. That's really easy. Yeah. Like, you don't need a bunch of side stuff or things getting in the way or filling up your time. Just be faithful. Same thing could be said about me, right? Just don't get involved with doing YouTube video shows and things. Like, you don't need to do it. Just be...
But you also need to be true to your personality.
I got to be...
You got to be you.
You got to be you. Yeah.
But no, it's true. Like, you have a very creative, energetic...
Are you going to say flamboyant?
No.
What are you going to say?
No, I was going to say...
Felt like you were going to say flamboyant.
I was going to say fruitful.
Oh, okay.
But that didn't feel right in this context for some reason.
Generative?
So, generative. Yeah. But no, it's true. So you have that side. So like, you'd be bored after one project.
No,
you need more. That's part of... Same thing for me, though. Like, even at a parish, like, I always have side things going on. This is a side thing.
Yeah.
So once you get your first calling or your first thing down, you actually, once you settle into that, then you're freed to know how much energy and time can I do towards things I'm just interested in, you know?
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm doing Retrovine in our diocese. I'm the chaplain for Culture Project, and I'm I help we're bringing theology of the body to our diocese in a conservative way. So,
are there too many Catholic books being written right
yes.
now? So what do we do about that?
Well, you stop writing them. All right?
Yeah.
Stop writing books.
Yeah.
I don't know what we do about it, but
I keep getting books in the mail from these different Catholic publishers.
Catholic author, just take a deep breath.
Ave Maria Press, stop posting me your books. I don't read them.
There's
I'm sure there's great stuff in there. It's just
I want to say something first.
Yeah.
I don't mean to say you don't have something to say, but I just think there's no way everyone's going to read all these books.
I just don't want to hear it.
No, I do, but there's no way I can read them all. It's impossible to read. If you look at every book published, Catholic book published in 1 month, you couldn't read it all in a year.
Yeah.
That's 1 month. So so it's like everyone's competing. It's like, whoa, hey, deep breath. I just think it's too many books.
No, I do too. I'm going to stop. I've got 2 more in the hopper right now. And then when they're
depends.
done.
Do your books pay for your kids? Maybe you should keep writing.
They don't really. Books do nothing.
See, that's interesting. Most people wouldn't know that, I think.
Is that right? No. Books,
I think people would think, oh, you're an author because you make money off that book.
No, you make nothing off books.
Yeah, see, it's important.
I have this little book on Amazon called Pints with Aquinas. Creative title. And it's a book I spat out about 6 months after I started the podcast. And it's like a self-published book. Mm-hmm. I think I've made more money on that than my other books, even though it's sold significantly less because the publisher takes a big chunk.
Well, I don't know, I just wonder sometimes with these great ideas, like a book has a great idea. If you put it into an hour-long YouTube lecture, could you convey the main point still? I'm not saying...
Something about a book, people still feel very romantic about it.
Well, no, feel me right. I love books. I have a huge library. I like underlining my books, and I like dog-earing, and I like highlighting. I'm not one that has to be pristine. No, I write different colors. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
But there's just too many books. Like, I mean, I'm like, Ignatius Press, I'm like, I could read all these. I love all these books, but I can't read them all. And I don't have the money to buy all of them. And I'm looking at my shelf. I still have 8 over here I haven't read. And so it's like, I don't know what to do.
There was an article written recently, and I'm forgetting the title of it, but it's based off a book, I guess, called The Hack. And the premise is, somebody gets into some sort of spiritual work. Maybe they're good at writing little Catholic poems or something, and someone encourages them. You should sell them, and they get into it. And now this becomes their profession. And now they hate it, but they got to keep doing it. It's like me, right? It's like any of us who can become a hack, or it's like, I've developed this persona, But you know what? And I'm not saying this is true of me, but I'm just using me as an example because I don't want to point at anybody else and say, now my marriage sucks and I don't want to like showcase that on Instagram anymore. Like it used to be cute, right? We used to do these little podcasts where we talk about how like marriage is messy, but we're getting through it. But now I don't want to do that, and now it's more like a prison, and I hate doing this.
Right.
And do you see? And I see that scares me. That scared the hell out of me when I read that. As soon as I read that article, that's when I quit Steubenville conferences on a plane through text message.
Professional.
Because I was thinking like these Steubenville conferences, they reach tens, if not hundreds of thousands.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe tens of thousands, 70
probably
to
tens of
100,000.
thousands,
All over the country. And I've been speaking at them for about 8 or 9 years now.
Wow.
I think. It's been a long time. And I just was thinking, there's probably some awesome young Hispanic kid who could like just take my place. They probably don't need another aging white dude to keep doing this.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. I'm being a little hyperbolic, but I don't know how we got onto that. But
You're aging.
I'm aging.
We're the same age.
We are both 36.
But what did you tell him when you saw me off the plane today?
You look younger than I remember.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've got that smooth skin. You
well,
have the receding hairline like me, but
I don't know why we have to say that, but
that felt a bit over the top. What books are you reading right now? Speaking of Catholic books,
I just finished a book called "What Is Christian and Christianity."
Yeah. What fiction books are you reading right now?
The Lord of the World.
What's that?
Wait, is it called the Lord of the World?
You better not mean Lord of the Rings, or I will throw this coffee on you.
Say that again.
You didn't mean Lord of the Rings.
No, I didn't mean Lord of the Rings.
What's that book, C.S. Lewis? Lord of the Flies or something?
No, I think it's Lord of the World. I'm in chapter 1. It's a book. It's like a futuristic book, but I think it's written like 1917. I just started that book, and that's the only fiction.
Is it like
the first
a
chapter.
dystopian
First
thing?
chapter. Yeah, it's kind of like a futuristic, like end of the world thing.
Stuff. Why do we love dystopian novels?
I don't know. It's like kind of like end of the world. How's it going to end and all that stuff. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I am reading.
Hold on, I didn't ask.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you reading?
Oh, good question.
Okay.
Now let me say a Christian title, and then you say no, not that. The Haunting of Hill House, Hill House, the House Hill thing by that Shirley lady. And it's hard to believe that anything scary could come from a woman named Shirley.
But surely
it was made into a Netflix show. Very good.
Thanks.
It was made into a Netflix show. Have you watched it?
I have not. No.
Have you watched it?
Never even heard of this.
Maybe not watch it. I'm not recommending it. I've just started reading that. I started reading The Brothers Karamazov again. I finished it last year. Friggin' loved it. Almost finished it again, so I got to cranking through that. I just read The Road by what's his face.
I know. You were telling me this earlier.
You can't pull that up. Do you have your phone?
No.
Nah. The Road. It's another. Everyone is shouting it at their screen right now. It's a dystopian novel by an American author about a father and a son who are fighting to survive. It's absolutely hauntingly beautiful and exhausting and worth the read. And I'm just reading a bunch of stuff. My sister and I are writing short horror stories right now.
Awesome.
What do you think about that? You just said awesome.
Well, I do. I think I don't know. It's kind of a no. Let me ask you this: are you writing these like in a way of like evangelizing that
No
field?
way.
I don't mean like it like weird like rigid way of evangelizing, but like a Flannery O'Connor.
No way. There's no thought. I just want to write creepy stories that scare me.
I don't know what I really think about that right away, but
you'd want to think that through, right?
Yeah, because I'm in your house.
Because I think you're allowed to not like it. I mean, it's the same thing with Halloween. I'm all for I want my children to dress up like scary things at Halloween.
Yeah.
What do you think about Halloween?
Yeah, I like Halloween.
Yeah, I think it's great. I don't want my kids to dress up like saints. I want them to dress and have blood on them. I want them to look scary.
Did you as a kid? What was your favorite costume as a kid?
No, because in Australia we don't have Halloween.
See, that's
first Halloween I ever experienced.
So you're living through your kids.
Exactly. I was 21 years old in Canada, put on a wolf mask and went around with the kids.
And you loved it.
The doors. I loved it. It was amazing because you hear about it on television, American television and stuff like that. But there's something beautiful about making light of what would usually scare you and realizing that it doesn't need to.
Well, and there's all different theories about like the history of Halloween. It's hard to kind of like track it down, they said, but
whatever the history
is.
But
I know, but that's part of the history. That's why I said it's pretty cool is that one of the reasons is you dressed as goblins and ghosts and things like that because you're mocking them because we're no longer afraid because the next day is All Saints, where the power of Christ actually sanctifies us. So we're no longer afraid of demons and things because we have Christ. So we mock them by dressing up as them and all this stuff. It's one of the thoughts out there.
Well, I mean, it's similar to the reason I think why children play fight and why kittens and dogs play fight. It's almost like we are engaging in an activity which is preparing us for a real situation we might have to face.
Oh.
This is why we enjoy watching kind of suspense and these sorts of things. It almost like, how would I act in this situation?
Sure.
Yeah.
I like that.
But if you wanted to kind of dismiss horror as a genre, you would have to dismiss Dracula and Frankenstein.
Well, that's the thing. Is that's why I said I think
Dracula's terrifying.
I think it's a field that we might not have engaged a lot in like the terms of like the church. That I think is an open field. Like there's a lot. There's a lot there. That's like I think.
Or even so, I imagine that there's a lot. Like if you would ask the question, like, who do you think out there is saying no, you shouldn't be writing horror? Someone might say, well, maybe more traditional people. Of which I would consider myself one. But I would suspect that most traditional people would be okay if you watch, say, The Exorcism of Emily Rose or The Exorcist. I mean, these are bloody terrifying movies. And
that's true.
Are horror. Whether or not they're based on real events is something different. So if someone was to acknowledge, yeah, you can watch The Exorcist, you're saying, okay, so you can create a horror movie about the demonic, you know. Now, Satan is vanquished and all that. But,
right.
But even if he wasn't, I don't know if we would...
Well, I guess it depends like what kind of stories you're writing. Like there's horror films like that, right? If you want to call that a horror genre, I don't know if I would exactly, but then there's also like there's horror films where it's just dark for being dark. It's just scary for being scary.
Buckle up. I'm gonna give you the premise. Here's what happens.
Can you unveil this already?
Yeah. Well, we're writing 10 short horror stories, and then we're going to release it as a book because apparently the world needs more books.
Didn't we just talk about that?
But I think we're gonna go on a pseudonym.
Can't you just release it as like an audiobook and read it?
I think we're going to release them as podcasts and then release it as a book if people want it to. We're going to call it Sibling Horror or something. Here's the horror story. It's called Lady Long, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it, but here's what happens in the beginning. It's 3 a.m. This bloke wakes up. His family are on vacation in Florida. He wakes up because he can hear the tree branches scraping across his window. He can't go back to sleep, so he decides he may as well get up and make himself a cup of coffee. He walks into the kitchen, puts the kettle on, looks disapprovingly at his reflection in the dark window in front of him, and for just a moment thinks about that eye cream he saw on a commercial earlier today. And as he does, the back lights flicker on and off, the security lights. This doesn't surprise him at first because he lives on about 15 acres, which backs up to national forest, and it's not uncommon for some sort of critter or deer to be back there. He pours himself a coffee, and the lights come back on, and then he sees it. An old woman sitting on his child's swing set, her grey hair over her shoulders wet from the rain, her skirt billowing in the wind, and her arms stretched impossibly high upon the plastic chains. And then the lights go out. Shut up! The lights go out.
Everyone's turned off their podcast at this point.
That's all right.
It's amazing.
This isn't for them.
This is just you and me now talking.
Yeah. And then, what do you do in that situation?
This is freaky.
So he drops the cup. It breaks in two. The coffee spreads beneath his feet. He looks up. The lights are off. And then there's 4 nights of terror ensue. And he ends up, surviving.
You're pretty creative.
Do you think that sounds super scary, right?
Yes. Yeah, thanks for that.
And then, and then on the
remember that podcast, that one time we recorded that video and we scared everyone, and then you got shut down?
One more thing, and then I promise I'll stop and we can move on to what you want to talk about. It's like
I don't want to talk about anything. You asked me to be on your show.
Yeah. You're my guest. Shh, let me talk. It was like the 3rd night, and he's pouring himself a cup of coffee, and then something happens like that. Yeah, and something lapsed in time, and he looks down and he notices that all of his coffee cups are on the counter, as well as the pots and the pans, and all of them are filled up with black coffee. And then he sees the woman in the house with him. All right, so that's one of the stories we're working on. What do you think about that?
That's scary.
It's really cool, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what I feel. I feel fear.
Yeah. But again, I want to encourage. I feel quite convinced that this is okay. Mm-hmm. But if you ask me to defend it, I'm not sure I would know how, and that makes me a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But then if I was writing action movies or action, and you were like, how is this like advancing the kingdom? I'm like, well, it's not really. It's just telling stories. And
I think telling stories are an important part of the kingdom.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Flannery O'Connor. She told stories, and her stories were not Catholic. In the sense that, like, there was religious themes.
The difference between her stories and mine, though, are that hers are good.
I mean, but an old lady gets shot in the face on the side of a road.
I think it's the chest.
Either way, she gets shot.
Yeah.
And this isn't like,
that's true.
In the time period she was writing in the 50s, To have a woman write a story about an old lady getting shot?
But imagine a woman sitting on a swing.
I don't want to think about that anymore.
And her arms go all the way up past the plastic-coated chains, and her hands are on the wooden beam 5 feet from where she's sitting. Shut up.
You're demented.
That's fantastic. That's beautiful. All right, so that's what we're doing.
Cool.
But we do have this... It feels like lately, there's a lot of dystopian novels. I'm fascinated by them. Loved 1984. Liked Brave New World more. No, I didn't. I liked 1984 more than Brave New World.
What about, what's a book that someone's like, every Catholic's like, you got to read this, and you read it, you're like, that sucked. So you ever had a book like that where like everyone's like, this is so good, and you read it, like, I just can't get it.
Well, okay, not that it sucked, but I could not get into Story of a Soul.
Okay.
I couldn't get into like this French girl
talking
about liking bonbons and stuff.
Did she say bonbons?
I think maybe. I don't. What are bonbons?
They're little chocolate covered things.
Yeah, she liked them, I think. It was chocolate eclairs or something. That was her favorite dessert. But I couldn't get into that.
Someone told me she was chubby. I'm serious.
Why would that matter, dude?
I'm just saying it's. I don't know. Someone told me that.
She was beautiful. When I see that Joan of Arc photo of her,
oh, that's great.
I want to marry her.
Do you like The Little Way? I mean, you have to, I get it, but like, do you know what I mean? Like,
what does it mean? What does The Little Way mean?
Well, you tell me.
I think her idea was that she looked at the saints, and next to them, it was like looking at a gigantic mountain, and she was a grain of sand, and she wanted to know how that she could love Jesus. And she ended up saying that it was the his arms were an elevator that could lift her up. So she didn't have to walk up the hard staircase of perfection, that Jesus would do it for her. Still don't really know what that means. I guess The Little Way has to do with like loving in the small things and like duty of the moment stuff. Is that what that means?
Well, I think this is one of my big things, is that I think that some people think that's what it means. You know, small things with great love. Right? That quote that Mother Teresa actually said, but they say it's her. But I think more of it is The Little Way seems to be that I'm little, and that I trust my poverty, my littleness, to His mercy, to His love. That He's nothing but merciful love, and He wants to fill up whatever's small in me. So I don't have to be big. I don't have to be impressive. I don't have to have anything. I just have to have trust. I just have to trust that He loves me as I am, and He wants to provide everything. I think that's the heart of The Little Way. I one time had Monsignor Esif. You went on a retreat with him.
Yep.
I was reading. I read the book Maurice and Therese. All right, that's. Did you ever read that book? Oh, it's phenomenal. It's letters between the little flower and a seminarian, Maurice, who then becomes a priest. And he doesn't say exactly what sins he's struggling with, but you feel like it's sexual sins. A lot of shame, all this stuff. And he keeps saying, I hope you don't die and go to heaven, because then you'll see all my sins. She goes, I don't think you understand. I'd see them like Christ does, with nothing but mercy.
Glory.
And it's over and over and over again. She's like assuring him, there's only mercy. There's only mercy. She goes, I only look at myself for a moment to see my sins. Then I look right back at Him who has mercy on me. Like, so she's not indwelled in self-nasal gazing, right? Yeah. She's just looking at the one who loves her. But so I read that once all the way through, and I was reading it through. Only book ever I got to the last page and went right back to the first page, read it all through again. And I was with Monsignor Esif, and I'm telling him, like, I think I just need to be little. And he goes, you don't be little, you be you. That's all you need to do. You be you.
Yeah.
He goes, don't worry if it's a little big or little.
That's
you just
good.
Be you. And I thought that's kind of what she's still trying to say, actually. It's like, she recognized herself to be really little, but she was just her.
Yeah.
And I think that's all he wants. I mean, you wouldn't ask a John Paul II, you should be a little more little. You shouldn't be in the public eye. That wouldn't be helpful. Right. Or Robert Barron, you shouldn't do YouTube videos. You should just be. That's not the little way. The little way really is the sense of like, whatever I am, I'm given to Jesus, and He'll take care of the rest in His mercy. He's nothing but merciful love.
Yeah.
And that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I mean, even doing like YouTube videos like this or a Pints, I mean, there's so many minutes of me speaking and saying things incorrectly. Like sometimes I'll re-listen to something, rarely, but if I do, I'm like, oh wow, I just said the wrong word. That didn't make sense, that sentence, you know. Or I'll say things and I'll feel embarrassed about it. But at my best, I give it to our Lord and say, this is about you. This is not about me. You know how quickly people will forget me when I'm dead? Like how quickly they'll forget you. They won't care. Our
bishop always says he walks down the hallway every day that has portraits of every bishop that's gone before him, and he realizes all I'm going to be is the next portrait. Yeah, that's it.
I know very little about these people, and I don't care to know maybe, unless I'm a historian for some reason. Like we just had our Father Deacon Michael, God rest him, beautiful man. He recently died, and it was sad for the whole community, you know. But all right, cool. No. I don't think about him now, and if I died tomorrow, whatever. People be like, oh, wow, okay, yeah, oh my gosh, it's so sad. Like, Cameron, does she have a GoFundMe account? That's
Exactly.
what you do. Yeah, but it's just like, someone said, it struck me that after my funeral at the reception, the number one question people will be asking is, where's the potato salad? That's powerful.
That's humbling.
Right? Do you think about death a lot?
And I go to two extremes. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I'm out of this world. Other times I get scared to death by it.
I was on a plane flying to New Hampshire the other day, and I experienced the greatest turbulence I had ever experienced before. And it's embarrassing when you're on the earth and you kind of wish you hadn't have reacted like it. But I'm like, oh, I'm going to die. That's happening right now. So I just sat in my prayer, like, Lord Jesus, like I'm so sorry. I repent of all my sin. I love you. I praise you. I beg your forgiveness and pardon for all the ways I've offended you and my family. You know, it was beautiful.
No.
So I'm glad that's my response, but it was terrifying, you know?
Now, we met, right? So we met in Cleveland. I brought you in for a talk, right?
Yep.
And then our paths have crossed to Steubenville.
Did that? When? Yeah.
In Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And then, were we ever at a Theology Body Institute together? I don't think so.
No.
But I know you were there, and you sent your wife there, right? You got your wife to go? I think I remember when she was there.
Were you there?
I think I was supposed to be the chaplain, and I couldn't be there, and someone else covered for me.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. I don't think you've met her.
No. Okay. Just trying to put it together in my mind.
If the bishop said to you, you could live anywhere in America and do whatever ministry you see fit, would that be too overwhelming? And you're like, no, don't do me that. I'm happy in Cleveland. Or
Yeah, that'd be very overwhelming. I'd be paralyzed by that. So many options. Like, lots of choices isn't freeing.
It's not.
It's like, it's the tyranny of choice is a tyranny. Like, it's just
it's so true.
Like, that's why obedience is freeing. Right? Now in our diocese, and I think most dioceses are like this, there is a little collaborativeness for assignments. So it's not like the bishop's like, go do this now. And you're like, yes, bishop, whatever you want. They usually talk to you. First off, it's usually delicate. I think people hopefully know that the bishop isn't doing every little thing. He couldn't possibly do everything in the diocese, right? So it's delicate. Usually the vicar of clergy will talk to you and ask you like, hey, there's some places opening up. Would you be interested in putting your name in for any of those? This is how it works in our diocese. And I like maybe this one, St. Billy Bob's, whatever. And it's like, all right, they said, you have to write up this formal page saying, I'm interested. This is the ministries I've done so far. This is what I'm interested in. Da-da-da. You submit it. Then you go to the personnel board. They interview you.
Oh, you're kidding.
And then all of that is then submitted to the bishop as recommendations or things they noticed or things they're thinking. So the bishop looks at those pages and then he decides. But there's some collaborativeness, right? Because I think they don't want us, at the end of the day, necessity trumps anything, but I think they try to honor the person of the priest. The Holy Spirit works in me too, but there is a hierarchy as well. So it's like making a stew. You put it all together and stir it around, then you have a stew. So,
are you experiencing a lot of younger people not being married? Do you hang out with a lot of young adults? Do you see this?
Yeah. I think.
Is that good, bad, just different, just whatever?
I don't mind that people are waiting longer to get married. I still think if you can get married younger, get married younger. I think that's the best way to do it. But I don't mind that they're waiting longer just because there's been so much breakdown in society and in family life that sometimes you need more years now to mature and experience new things. All the helicopter parents and all these things, by the time a kid's in his 20s, sometimes they just have to be on their own and trying things for a while before they actually, connect with someone else. So I don't think it's a terrible thing. I know I'm the chaplain for Retrovi, as I said, so that's a marriage ministry for healing couples that are really on the down and out, and they're in a tough place. And a lot of them, it's not so much whether they should have waited or anything like that. It's more so, communication is key. Everyone says that, but it is. It really is key for them, as I've said, and learning a common vision. This is like my Fr Ryan Mann analogy, right? Here he goes. If someone thinks the goal of marriage is Chicago, and another one thinks the goal of marriage is New York, all the communication in the world isn't going to help you. You guys are fundamentally going in different directions. And so one of the gifts the church gives to the world is God's goal for marriage, the plan, what it looks like, what does it mean to be married, so that the two of you freely can assent, not simply to each other, but standing next to each other to the Lord and saying, this is where we're going. And then you hold each other accountable, not to your preferences and egos and fallenness, but you're holding each other accountable to moving the family and each other in that direction. That can solve a lot of problems. I think that's one of the heart of the church is marriage prep, is getting them to understand the vision and learning how to communicate and dialogue to live a shared life that moves you down that path.
Did you ever read that book, I Kissed Dating Goodbye?
Never even heard of it.
Joshua Harris. Is that who that
I
is?
Kissed Dating Goodbye?
Yeah, it's a bloke kind of in the evangelical world who was writing sort of abstinence books and things like that. Like, I don't date, I prepare for marriage, that kind of thing. He recently kind of repudiated that work. And one of the things that came up in the discussions regarding that was this idea of, you know how we talk about the health and wealth gospel?
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like there's this like sexual health or wealth gospel out there that he thinks he fell into. You know, so the health and wealth gospel is like, if you just do this, then God will give you health and riches and things like this. And it seems like sometimes we can fall into this, like, if you just wait, God has someone out there for you and he's perfect for you. And your sex life will be fantastic and everything will be great. But none of that is biblical. And none of that is true. Like, it's obviously biblical that you should save sexual marriage.
Right.
I think it's statistically true that your marriage will be better off if you save and all this sort of thing. But this idea... Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
And I don't think that... I haven't heard Catholic speakers who speak in this area fall into this. But this is something I've been hearing in the evangelical world.
Yeah, I think we can want something so pristine that we forget that there's always a journey. So there's the ideal, right? We were talking before, and we're on a break or whatever we've been doing here, like that you're melancholic, right? Part of the melancholic temperament, right? Ideals.
Yes.
Right? The artistic ideal,
my gosh.
right? That's beautiful. That's what makes art so good. That's what makes people try so hard. But, you know, the journey up that mountain is a journey, and you start very low on that mountain. And I think sometimes that, I'm back to the helicopter parent model, is we've been so insulated and protected from making any mistakes or ever getting hurt or ever getting diseases or ever anything like that, that we don't know how to live in life. We don't know how to, like, hey, try something, and if it fails, but I'm going to try. Now, this doesn't mean you just pick anyone and get married, and if you get a divorce, I don't mean marriage like that. But I mean, you're going to marry someone. This is true of every single human being ever, minus Joseph. You will marry someone who has to go to confession often because they offended the living God. And if they were okay with offending the living God, they're going to be okay with offending you at times. And guess what? You're the same person as well. That's why the number one ingredient for marriage is mercy, like a real sense of mercy, like that says, listen, you're just as much trouble as I am. So how about we don't leave? And how about we actually work on it together? Now that's hard. That's a deflating of the ego. I'm not going to choose self-preservation. Now, if you're in an abusive relationship, not at all.
Right.
You need to get, but outside of that, this is what it's meant to do. You're meant to put people in a tough situation so that they quite literally die to all their ways of coping and justifying and rationalizing, and they open up all their wounds and pains to Christ, but also to someone who's tangible in front of them that says, I'm never leaving you. And in doing that, you begin to have the confidence that even if I make a mistake, no one's abandoning me. So I can work on it, and I can try things, and I can pray, and I can look for help, and I can grow. But people want to sidetrack that. The other way of saying that is they want to sidetrack the cross. I don't want the bloody mess of the cross. I just want the glory of the resurrection. Well, hell yeah, I do too. That'd be amazing. That's just not real. The journey is always going to be broken and messy.
What do you say to Catholics who are watching this, though, who are divorced? I mean, I kind of do think sometimes that we just overlook these people. We talk very rightly about the importance of, like, divorce being impossible, not just evil, but impossible. Sure. But I guess legally it's not impossible, obviously. Right. And if someone's in an abusive relationship or something else.
Well, and the church grants annulments. There's some level of understanding where we do grant a declaration of invalidity.
That's right.
Does everyone know that, by the way? Like,
yeah, we can do it.
Real quick, I just want to point that, we all use the word annulment, but it's a weird word.
Yeah.
Right. The actual canon law term is a declaration of invalidity.
I like that a lot.
It's so much clearer.
More.
It clears everything.
Declaration of invalidity.
We declared that this was
never married.
This was an invalid marriage from the beginning.
Yeah. It's not like your marriage has been,
It was, and now it's annulled. It never was.
There was nothing there.
Nothing came into existence at the time of the vows.
So then someone will say, so were we guilty of fornicating?
Oh, I've never thought of that.
I think the answer is probably yes,
but not
you
culpable.
Weren't culpable in
you
any
didn't
way.
know.
Yeah.
But so couples married or Catholics who are divorced. First off, you need to know that, like, you don't need to get, like, you don't. By the way, you don't have to stop going to communion. Right? Just because you got a civil divorce. Right?
Right.
Now, if you start dating someone else, now you got to go talk to a priest, confessor, and a pastor and get things squared away.
Right. So just to make this really clear for people, so if one is validly married,
Which we presume every marriage is until it's declared invalid.
Right. So since I am validly married, divorce is not a possibility for me. The only thing that can end this marriage is my death or my wife's death.
That's in a valid marriage, correct?
Right.
Yes.
But it is obviously valid, so that's why I said it that way. Now, suppose, my wife becomes, let's pick on my wife, a raging alcoholic and hurts the children and things like that, and I have to remove her out of the house, right? And then I have a civil divorce for the sake of the children. I'm still married, even though I'm civilly divorced.
Correct. And you're not trying to date? You're not.
No, because I'm married.
So absolutely. So first off, you can go receive communion.
Right.
The prohibition that we hear always is when people get divorced and then on their own get remarried as if nothing ever happened and they can define reality on their own. That's the couple we say, whoa. We need to first look at the first relationship and get that, if you will, declared invalid if it is. And if it's not, we need to then address the second relationship you're in. But if you stay divorced and you're not planning a date or anything, you can receive communion.
It's complicated, right? Because we're talking about civil divorce and then divorce being impossible.
Yeah. So but I think that's a lot of good news. I think most people don't realize that. Second thing is, if you're divorced, you are not unloved by God, right? You have not been abandoned by him, right? There's a deep wound in this where if you're the one who is, I don't know how you say it, you were filed with the papers. So you received the papers. You didn't ask for it. It was done to you. There can be a real feeling of rejection and abandonment. And since marriage is the icon of divine love in the biblical witness, it can feel a lot like Jesus has hurt me. What's going on? So you need to know that that's like your spouse, your ex is not Jesus. In that moment, Jesus is right there with you. He's loving you. And you need to have some good prayer time. If you get on a good retreat, a silent retreat, if you can go on a good healing retreat, there's a wonderful divorce ministry in Pittsburgh I heard of. And I know someone who went on it, and it was like an intense weekend and then 6 follow-up sessions and things. And they just said they went from a lot of shame, because in the Catholic world it's shameful, to acceptance and freedom and forgiveness. And this woman is a dynamite now. She's in love with the church. She was able to get an annulment, and rightfully so in that case for sure. And oh my gosh, she is fruitful. She then went on a Theology of the Body week-long course, and she is just blessing so many people.
I have a question for you.
What's up?
If you could have a beer with any secular celebrity, who would it be and why?
Just one?
One beer or one celebrity?
Well, it'd be more than one beer for sure.
Okay.
Just one celebrity?
Yeah.
Ooh. All right, it's a tie.
It has to be a secular celebrity. It can't be someone like who is like a closet Christian or something.
Yeah, I don't care. It's a tie.
All
right, it would either be Lady Gaga or Jerry Seinfeld.
Except Jerry Seinfeld would not want to have a beer with you.
Well,
He just seems like a grumpy
I'm pretty
dude.
fun.
You are pretty fun.
I think
but
I'm half Jewish. Did you know that?
Are you?
Uh-huh.
Who's Jewish?
My dad's.
Your dad?
Yeah.
Well,
I think
then,
so. Jerry Seinfeld.
he must want to have a...
I don't think he'd drink a beer, though. I feel like Jerry doesn't drink beer.
Yeah.
But yeah, him or Lady Gaga.
Why Lady Gaga?
I'm fascinated by her. She goes to this Jesuit parish in New York City when she's home. She's always searching for this deeper meaning. She's trying to find her true self, like all these secular terms. But she's in touch with this restlessness, and I kind of like it. She's not numb. She's done the wild thing. She's not wearing. I don't think she's moral. It's not why I want a beer with her.
No,
I want a beer with her because
she's interesting.
She's interesting. She's open. She's kind of There's something like that. Yeah. How about you?
I just don't know. I was hoping you weren't going to ask me that, because I don't think I have an answer. Maybe an author.
Boring.
Yeah.
Like James Patterson.
James Patterson. Why do you laugh like that?
Because that guy writes all those books. He has the weirdest commercials on TV for like.
I've never
he
seen
puts out like a new book every other month.
It's pretty incredible. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny how when you're young, you look up to certain people and would just kill to be with them, and then you get a little older. You're like, I don't know, good.
Is there because you do all sorts of Catholic stuff? Is there a Catholic quote unquote celebrity in America that you haven't met that you'd love to meet?
Yeah, that's a good question, because Peter Kraft was it, and then I was able to fly him down and interview him for my show, and that was just a dream come true to sit down with him. And
Can I ask a question that maybe a lot of people want to know?
Why is he bald?
Yeah. Does he have cancer?
No, he doesn't have cancer. He has There's something that made all of his hair fall out.
Okay.
I forget what that's called, but he's all right. These eyebrows.
But you got to meet him.
Yeah.
Is there someone else?
Oh, yes. Who wrote Out of the Ashes? Anthony Esselin.
Oh,
I've
nice.
asked him to be on the show. He emailed me back and said definitely wants to be, but then he got sick or something.
Okay.
I'd love to sit down and chat with him. He's excellent. Have you read anything of his?
Does he have a blog?
Does he have a blog? I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't think so.
But there's someone like that I'd want to sit down and chat with. But I really have absolutely no desire. Maybe James Hetfield from Metallica.
Okay.
Sit down and chat with him about... He's a very interesting guy.
Yeah.
In their movie Some Kind of Monster, that came out, I don't know, 2000-ish. There's this really incredible line where he's essentially proclaiming, the dullness that sin leads us into. And you can look this up online or if you watch the show, which I'm not recommending everything in the show, of course, but he says something to the effect of how much more interesting his life now is as a father and a husband. He's like, when I was doing all that stuff, getting drunk, I wake up, I've got a show to do, I'm out of my mind, there's some woman in my bed, I don't know who she is. He's like, the results were the same. Every day, the results were the same. Whereas like now, when my head's clear and with my wife and my children, it's like, it's exciting. And it was like, whoa, this is James Hetfield saying this,
That's cool.
Yeah, really seems cool. Brian Regan would be someone else I'd love to sit down with.
Really, I think he's a great comedian, but I don't think I would enjoy a conversation with him.
Why?
He seems too goofy.
Yeah, like he wouldn't know how to communicate with you?
Yeah, like I don't. So like I think I told you I was a comedian before I went into seminary, and I just hung out with a lot of comedians, and they can't have an honest moment because they're always looking to like tweak the moment to make a joke. And but I said Jerry Seinfeld, but he kind of at his age now, he's kind of more like to the philosophy of comedy. So I kind of like him. Like he's like, now why was that funny? You ever see comedians in cars getting coffee?
Oh my gosh!
But he's always like trying to analyze.
Norm Macdonald is my favorite.
I met
human.
Norm Macdonald.
Shut up!
Yeah.
How?
I was on a vacation with 3 other priests, and they said Norm Macdonald's in the hotel and he's doing a show tomorrow night. You guys can go for free. All you have to do is become a member of the World Poker Tournament that was going on at that thing. We're like, is it expensive? Like, no, it's free. We're like, done. So we signed up. I'm a part of a World Poker Tournament now.
I guess.
And I was first in line. I got like 45 minutes before the show started. He walked by. I was like, Norm, and he's like, hey, what's going on?
Hey.
And he's like, I'm like, hey, you win anything in the poker? Hell no. And that was it.
Brilliant.
And he gave me the fist bump, and he did all these jokes, and so there's these 3 priest friends. We just impersonate them all the time, and we know we're in desolation when we start calling each other on the phone and talking like Norm Macdonald. It means one of us was binge watching Norm Macdonald videos.
Oh, he's fantastic.
He's so I told you, one of my favorite things to do on YouTube is watch interviews.
Did you see his interview with Jerry Seinfeld?
I did not.
This was, oh my gosh, realms of pleasure.
I know.
You have yet untapped.
I know.
Tonight we should watch it together.
I would love it.
So good.
It's comedian Carson Coffee. It's Jerry and Norm.
Yes.
Yeah. How you doing? Hey. He's brilliant about stuff though, and he's really smart actually. Norm Macdonald, very, very insightful. He has some great one-liners. But you should see if you want to watch Norm Macdonald being interviewed by Conan O'Brien. Very funny.
I'm sure I saw it. Was that very long, 8-minute joke?
Oh yeah,
about the light was on, the
The
podiatrist.
yeah.
Oh my god, I love it.
Oh yeah, it was great. So yeah, Norm Macdonald's great.
Okay, one more. Norm, this is my favorite. Did you read his book?
No, I did not.
There's some dark elements in there, but I found a lot of it very funny. So there's this one joke is my favorite. He says, there's this old bloke named Jim, and Jim's memories on the fritz. Let's say that in Australia. I don't know if you say that here. Anyway, Jim's friend Bob comes over, and Bob says, "G'day, Jim. How you going?" "Oh, doing all right, thanks, Bob. How's that medication going for your memory?" "It's not bad, thanks, Bob." "What's it called again, Jim? The medication?" "Yeah, the medication." "Oh gosh, what's the name of that? What's the name of that flower?" "I don't know, Jim. There's a lot of them." "Yeah." Bob says, Is it a sunflower?" "No, it's not a sunflower. It's the other one. It's the one you take on dates with you." "Oh, a carnation?" No, it's the one with a long stem." "Oh, a rose. That's it. Rose. What's the name of that medication I'm on?"
Nice.
It's a good joke.
Norm, I'll tell you.
Very good joke.
Very Norm.
Why is he so funny?
And so unsuccessful.
Yeah.
He's a funny comedian that he's a household name, but he hasn't really been
Isn't
successful.
he like a serious gambler? Gambling addict?
He likes gambling. Yeah, he does.
I mean, I don't want to spread rumors about him. That's just, I don't know. But he's
I'll tell you,
varied.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I think stand-up comedians, yes, they're crude, most of them. But I think they're some of the most prophetic, or maybe you want to say like modern philosophers. They help you look at reality and experience things. Like they point out human experience in ways that like we never could without their like articulating it. Like, and we laugh, right? Because there's a shared. Sometimes we laugh because we're uncomfortable, but a lot of times a good joke you laugh because it resonates. You're like, I've done that, or I know what that means. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like a comedian gets up and is like, "Look how crazy I am! Look how crazy I am!" And I'm you. You're like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, no, exactly.
So, who's your favorite comedian? Norm Macdonald?
No, he's up there.
Would you even want to admit who your favorite comedian is?
I'll bracket my first few that I like a lot, just because I think that the comment boxes on YouTube and the emails I'd get would be
Okay.
But I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to say their names, but the reason why I like them is I do think they're very insightful. You have to sift through a lot of painful, offensive imagery.
Did you see that latest one? Who's that comedian? He just did one recently. Did this joke on abortion? It was incredible.
Well, David Chappelle.
Yes, did you watch that?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I didn't watch the whole set because honestly, I can't handle a lot of the crudeness.
Yeah. No, it's hard. Yeah.
Especially if I don't think it'll pay off.
Right. No, for sure. But Jerry Seinfeld's up there for me. Always like Jerry Seinfeld.
Very good.
And Norm Macdonald is up there.
Jim
Gaffigan,
hilarious.
he's great too.
He's so quick. Like Brian has a lot of stories and his impersonations. Right. Jim, it's like every line is
for sure.
Incredible.
Yeah, no, for sure. What I like about Seinfeld, there's a YouTube video you can watch it. It's Louis C.K., Ricky Gervais, Jerry Seinfeld, and Chris Rock. They're all sitting on a couch talking about the philosophy of comedy.
I have to watch
and they're going back. It's like an hour-long video.
Ricky Gervais is so
And one time they
funny.
asked him, they said, Jerry, you never swear. All of us swear in ours. You never. He goes, I swore once. They're like, what? He goes, yeah, I told a joke on a Friday. I used the F word in it, and I got some laughs. And then I told a joke on Saturday without the F word, and it didn't get any laughs. And I realized it was a bad joke because of that. And they're like, no, it just needs the F word. He's like, no. If it's that dependent on that word, it's not a good joke. So I got rid of it. But it just shows like they're down to the art form of getting a word right. It's pretty remarkable.
All right, I'm going to bring up something rather controversial.
Great.
I don't find female comics funny. And
Very rare.
I think women just aren't terribly gifted comics.
I think, do you know the ones I did find funny? Do you know I found funny back in the day, actually?
Who?
Ellen DeGeneres. When she did stand-up, I found it to be hysterical. Yeah.
You know, like I find women funny in sitcoms like that Parks and Recreation. She's
or
hilarious.
Office even.
Well, who would be in The Office that's funny?
Is it Pam?
She's not funny. There's no women that are funny in The Office.
Come on. Or how about Elaine in Seinfeld? Remember Seinfeld?
She's not funny. She's just vulgar. They wrote her as a dude. She comes off as butch.
No.
Masculine.
Come on.
No, I didn't find her funny at all. But I don't know what it is. And I think I'm right, even though people are really angry at me. I think I'm right.
No, well, here's the thing. Here's my theory, is they haven't found their voice yet in comedy.
No, I think that's way too generous. I think a lot of women have been doing stand-up for years. And
At first I don't think that's true. I don't think they have been doing it for years. But
I don't mean women in general, but I mean I think there are women who have have been doing this
I think
for
the
a
reason
decade or so.
they don't, because it's such, they know that the crude sexual joke gets a response. So you have usually that route they try to go.
That's gross.
And it doesn't work. And then it's a weird, but now older, Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah.
Who was his mom. She played a funny character.
Yeah, she was hilarious.
But she had a character, right?
Yeah, or George Costanza's mum on Seinfeld was hilarious.
Oh, yeah, for sure. His dad was funny.
I don't know if men have a greater authority so that when they talk, you're more willing to go where they want you to go, whereas a woman may not have that same authority, and that's why. There is a reason. I mean, it was Christopher Hitchens who wrote that article, Why Women Aren't Funny. He said, due to evolutionary reasons, they don't have to be. But if a man isn't funny, you're not interested.
That's pretty insightful.
Yeah, and I think that's true.
No, I do think it's true. I have, like I said, I can only name one female comedian
I'm
I've
not
ever
saying
liked.
women stand-ups can't be funny or gifted. Like I've seen some, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was quite good. But I'm not like belly laughing.
Yeah, Ellen DeGeneres is the only one, like I said, I ever thought was funny. I thought she was very funny.
I never saw her doing stand-up.
She was great. Oh, I thought so.
Well, look, this has been bloody fantastic, and I just want to thank you for flying down from Cleveland to be here with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Got one final question I'd like to ask you.
I'm ready.
You ready for this?
I got nervous. I see my body change.
Let's say that Pope Francis, God forbid, and I'm not wishing this, of course, dies tonight, and the conclave gather, and while they're praying, hopefully, they get this vision of a handsome 36-year-old man from the Cleveland Diocese in America called Fr Ryan Mann.
Doesn't even look 36, though.
Doesn't.
No.
33. Not a day older. And they want you to be Pope.
Yeah.
And what's the first sort of couple of things you do? Or what are you interested in doing if you were made Pope?
Pick a name would be cool.
What would you choose?
I don't know. It's hard.
It's hard. You'd have to go back through the history and decide what legacy you'd want to continue in a way.
Or do you want to throw a real curveball?
Like Francis.
Yeah. Like, what if I just Francis II but don't do anything like him? Then it's very confusing. Right? Or can you do John Paul III? That's a weird one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you do August?
Paul John.
Paul John. Just really do everything backwards.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I think the first thing I think one of the things I do is establish an absolutely no writing.
For you yourself?
Yeah,
you
a pope. I would be a pope who doesn't write.
And why?
Because I don't think we haven't had time to understand John Paul or Benedict's writings yet, and they're so rich and beautiful. Can we just get a pause?
Can we just have a break?
I'm asking a 10-year pause.
Yep.
And like just maybe republish some of them with a nice new cover and like a new forward to it that like, or something that highlights some of the writings you should pay attention there, and just give theologians and just a time to catch up.
Imagine what would happen if Pope Francis tomorrow came out and went, I would like someone to start a podcast on Fides et Ratio.
Yeah.
A million podcasts would be. Yeah, you wield so much power as a pope to kind of direct where the church is going.
Say that, and then guess I'm from the church. I will be praying and doing penance, and I'll do Wednesday audiences, and I'll take care of some of the stuff within the Vatican. Other than that,
I'm roller skating along the marble floors of the papal palace.
Exactly.
With my tiara.
God bless.
Thank you very much.
I just don't think we just the constant writing. It's like
that's interesting.
So, for example, people read.
Doesn't the church? I mean, the church needs guidance, doesn't it?
Well, the church, like Amoris Laetitia was written, right? On the marriage, Pope Francis wrote that. How many people read that but never read John Paul II's Letter to the Families?
Too many.
Which covered very similar topics. All right, there's tons of overlap, and yet they read as if they're totally different things. Now, they're like 20 years apart from each other, but has human nature and the needs of the church within marriage changed that much? So what was this? What's this doing?
All right, so you're not writing, but surely there's other things you've got to be doing. It's not like Pope.
Gotta work out, stay in shape.
Workouts, the roller skating.
The roller skating. Well, no, I mean you would meet with people. You would do World Youth Days. I mean it's kind of busy. I mean, if you think the Pope is actually writing,
wouldn't you want to bring in a trusted advisor who knew what's what, like Janet Smith? All right, Janet, who am I laicizing today? I want folders filled with bishops and cardinals I need to laicize.
Well, I think that's some of the thing is like I don't think the church, John Paul II had to travel as much as he did because I don't know that he trusted the bishops in the world yet. So he had to go and create the communities that fell in love that would be receptive to his teachings. He had to go all the places to do that. I don't know that that's still the same need anymore.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So I think you need to take a step back, pray, be a face, laugh, give a couple good homilies at masses, be present, but be a man of deep prayer and penance for the church.
And for goodness sake, regularize the St. Michael prayer. Come up with one standard form that no one can deviate from.
And give a reason. Like, are we doing it after daily masses? Are we not? If we're not, why shouldn't we? If we are, can we have like a reason again? We were praying for the conversion of Russia. Can we do it for the conversion of secularists? I don't know. Can we do it for the purification of the church for the next 2 years after daily masses? I don't know. Yeah.
Awesome. This has been good. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Hey, cheers. Thanks for having me on. What do you guys say? No, this is the sláinte.
We don't say what we say in Australia.